I'm the fitness director for Men's Health. And one of the really, really cool things about my job, this mic is loose, but one of the really, really cool things about my job is I get to review and look at a whole ton of fitness equipment. So, I'll have barbells come to the house, treadmills, all this stuff. We try to test it out. That way, you guys get a really good experience with the equipment, and we kind of decide what is good and what's not. And every so often we get a really eccentric, weird piece of equipment in, like this thing, which is kind of a Nordic curl bench. Is anybody familiar with the Nordic curl? If you're not familiar with the Nordic curl, it is this ultra impossible hamstring exercise. Essentially, you kind of wedge your feet into the handles of that machine, that bench, whatever you want to call it. And then on the strength of your hamstrings alone, basically, you have to lower your body towards the ground. It is a vicious test just like that. But then a couple of years ago, I want to say like 2 or 3 years ago, Tyreek Hill and all these NFL wide receivers and a lot of athletes started taking it to the next level. And instead of just lowering down, now they lift themselves back up, and all on the strength of their hamstrings, which is incredibly, incredibly hard. Even if, pull-ups, push-ups, all these bodyweight exercises are incredibly challenging, but the Nordic curl is next to impossible. And this device showed up at my house, I want to say about 1.5 years ago, and I was like, you know what, this is great. I can finally learn to do Nordic curls. I kind of made it a goal. I do not have a lot of hamstring strength in general. It's kind of a weak point for me. So I was like, I can use this to finally get my hamstrings caught up. I'm going to make it a goal to figure out how to do a Nordic curl, learn how to do this. I'm going to spend 1 year or so on it, and then I'm going to get better at this. And what wound up happening is life kind of took over. I wound up with an elbow surgery last year. Work got insane. I had a lot of personal stuff. And so I actually this great bench showed up, and I wound up never really using it at all. It just kind of sat there. It just kind of collected dust. So this really cool thing that I had that I could use to kind of push myself and push my training to the next level, I never really touched. Fast forward to about 2 months ago, and one of the other really, really cool things I get to do at my job is I do all the fitness video for Men's Health. It's my time to instruct people on how to do exercises, to take shots at Michael Easter, to do all those kind of things. I do all the fitness video for Men's Health. It's one of these super fun things that I do. As part of that, though, I don't actually choose all the topics. I work with a team that gives me some really good topics and moves that we should cover. And about 2 months ago, we're sitting in kind of a regular meeting where we're talking about what we should cover, and the idea of the Nordic curl is thrown out there. And all I'm doing is thinking, so now I have to make a video on an exercise that I probably should have learned last year, but I actually didn't. I didn't take the time to do it, and now I have we plan our videos out a little bit in advance, and I have about 2 months to do it. And if I don't learn how to do it in 2 months, I guess I could ask ChatGPT to teach you guys, but then I'm probably out of a job. So I got to figure out how to do the Nordic curl. So I went home, found the bench. It was kind of tucked away in the corner of my garage. I needed to screw one of the bolts back in. That was how little I'd used it. And got to work trying to work on learning the Nordic curl. Really hard again, hamstrings, not my strength. So I could barely get a couple inches on it. It took me a long time, and I had to kind of develop a progression too, because if I can't master it, I can't teach you guys anything. So I had to develop a mastery over it. I had to develop a progression. And I had to do it in the space of 2 months, which meant that I needed to learn the move, and I needed to take time every single day, pretty much for the last 55 days. Every single day I've spent about 10 to 15 minutes working on the Nordic, experimenting with it, and developing a progression that you guys will all see in video, shameless plug. But you guys will all see on video probably in about a month, right? So now I can do the Nordic. That's a really bad shot because I do it in my garage. But now I can do the Nordic with the weighted vest, right? The only thing that changed between last year, this device showing up, and now, 2 months ago, is the fact that I had a deadline. And I'm going to throw out an idea to you guys that with fitness, we have goals, but we need to take another step if we want to start to achieve those goals, and if we want to push both our physical and our mental fitness farther. we want to take one more step and we want to put deadlines to those goals. And once we start to put deadlines, this is also a journalist telling you this, so Michael, please meet your deadlines. But this is also a journalist telling you this. So I've been around deadlines my entire life. The truth is most of us have been around deadlines our entire lives. But once you start to put deadlines to your fitness goals, you're going to be able to take your physical fitness farther because you're going to have this push to get done the things that you say you're going to get done. And you're also going to take your mental fitness farther because what you're essentially doing once you put an aggressive deadline on your fitness goals, whatever they may be, whether we're trying to bench 300 pounds or drop 2/10 off our 40 time, or improve on our marathon time, whatever it is, you essentially have given yourself a little bit of a task and a challenge that's going to require a mental investment and a level of problem solving that's going to happen mentally. So all of that is really, really good. When we have our normal fitness goals, and our normal fitness goals are great, a lot of times, we want to bench those 300 pounds, or we want to do the Nordic curl, or we want to complete our first marathon. But until we have a date assigned to that, it is very, very easy for, just like it happened to me last year, for life and a whole bunch of other things to take over. And then all of a sudden, we are not going to reach those goals, or we're going to continue to be stagnant in our fitness because we haven't really assigned a date that we're going to test ourselves, that we're going to hit our 300-pound bench press, or we're going to get the Nordic curl because we have to do it on video, or we're going to get something done. So I think fitness deadlines are kind of the next step that we all need to take within our training as we're building out our goals, so that we can push things to the next level. It's really, really important. The truth is too, we're around a lot of deadlines, so we should be familiar with this. And I think this is why, to some extent, we very often don't assign deadlines to our fitness goals, because we kind of need a break. If you think about it, the moment you're in school, you're exposed to a series of deadlines. You have to get your homework done by tomorrow. You have to get your book report done, or you have to have ChatGPT write it in a week. But you have to get something done, and then you get into the work world, and it's the same thing. You have to get a project done, you have to get a paper done, whatever you have to do for work. The difference with those deadlines versus our fitness deadlines is they are applied to us from external sources. So it's going to be your boss, it's going to be your teacher, it's going to be your family. Those are where a lot of our deadlines come from, and we get really, really good at meeting those deadlines because very often we don't have a choice. You don't meet your deadline at work, you might be out of a job. So you have to get it done. We have to find a way to take our fitness just as seriously, because that's also kind of investing in ourselves, and those are the goals that come directly from ourselves, right? The one difference in the gym that is different from everywhere else, it's a really, really friendly environment to start to experiment with our own deadlines and with putting pressure on ourselves, and we shouldn't run from that pressure. When we're in the gym, it's super friendly, and we control everything. We control the exercise we're going to do. We control how many reps we're planning to do. We control the loads we're going to choose. So we're in complete control of the situation. And in some ways, that makes it really, really easy. If we don't have a deadline on our fitness tasks, it makes it really, really easy for us to get lazy and get relaxed and skip doing the Nordic curl because we don't have a purpose for it. That's why we've got to apply a little bit of that pressure to us, and that's going to allow us to push a little bit farther because there are so many benefits to it when we do. Again, when we put deadlines on our fitness, you're going to be able to get stronger because you're going to have a deadline. You have a point where you have to test that 300-pound bench press. So you want to put something on that way you have to work for it. It's suddenly going to focus your training. If there's no deadline, then yes, we have a fitness goal, but it's very, very easy for our training to get all over the place. The moment I had to do a Nordic and I knew I had to do it for video, it wound up replacing, to be honest, some of the frivolous stuff I was doing in my training. I didn't have time to just mess around with silly ab exercises. I didn't have time to, spend like 8 minutes trying zone 2 cardio. I didn't have time to do any of that because those 10 to 15 minutes needed to be devoted to a singular goal. So when you put a deadline on your training, when you put a deadline on whatever fitness goal you have, you are suddenly you're applying something that's going to focus your training. So that's the great thing. And then the other thing, again, is you get this great mental focus out of it because you have to focus. I couldn't go into those 10 to 15 minutes and be lazy with an exercise that I couldn't do. The same way, if a 300-pound bench press is my goal, I can't go into the gym and sort of not attack the bench press and not make sure every exercise is driving towards the bench press. If I have to accomplish that in 3 weeks, I've got a lot of work to do because right now I'm like at 265, but I'm gonna say the elbow is my excuse for that. But so it's going to create that focus that's gonna help your training. So that's why I'm very, very big into deadlines. There are 2 things we need to do with those deadlines. I could have sworn that was on one line, the 2 deadline keys thing. But there are 2 keys to making these deadlines effective though. One thing is your deadline should be hard. So if I say I'm gonna bench, if I'm at 275 on my bench press, or if I'm at if I'm at 275 on my bench press and I say I'm gonna bench 280 in 3 months, I haven't really given myself a challenge. I haven't given myself anything that I need to push forward on, and I haven't given myself anything that's gonna cause that kind of mental stimulation, and I haven't given myself a real problem. All I've done is I've thrown something kind of squishy out there. I'm not gonna get much out of that. So don't be afraid to make your deadlines hard. Again, the gym is this controllable place where you can test yourself, and also where you can fail at deadlines. When I'm in real life, if I fail at my job deadline, probably in a little bit of trouble, right? But if I'm in the gym and I fail to get 300 pounds 2 months from now, it's not that bad, and I can actually learn to fail and learn to deal with that failure and learn how I adapt from that. So set challenging fitness deadlines, because that's gonna help push you. That's the thing that's gonna push you. The gym is all about progressive overload in terms of the science of how we're trying to build muscle and strength, but it can also be about overloading our mind in very careful and cautious ways. That way we can push forward with how we're attacking our deadlines. The second thing about deadlines, we want to make sure that our deadlines are known. We want to tell people about them. When you tell people about that you're trying to get a 300-pound bench press in 3 weeks or in 3 months, no, they may not understand it. They may think you're weird a little bit, but you've also put it out there into the world. And by doing so, you kind of create a little bit of a web of accountability that's going to push you to get that goal, because you know other people know it and they think you're weird, but they know you're pursuing it anyway. And because of that, you're gonna just have that little bit of accountability that can help push you to greatness. The whole thing with deadlines is fitness goals are great, no problem with them. But when we can use those deadlines and we can apply a time element to every single goal that we have, we're gonna be able to push to greatness farther and faster because we're forcing ourselves to. And that's the thing that, again, we all work out, we all get it done, but I'd like to see all of us, and I challenge all of us to get it done on another level by pushing a little bit harder. In the spirit of always making a deadline, I am done 90 seconds early. So I'm gonna give the mic back to Michael.